Section 9.1, we're going to introduce intervals and talk about their number. So an interval in music, as you can read, is the distance in pitch between two notes, and an interval's name has two parts, the quality and the number. Now, the quality is going to be a word like major or minor, perfect, diminished, or augmented. And the number is going to be an ordinal number, so something like second or fifth or seventh. And when you put these two parts together, you get an interval's complete name. So major third, perfect fifth, augmented sixth, and so on. Now, of these two parts, the number is much easier to determine by a long shot, so that's where we're going to begin. To find an interval's number, you're going to count the total number of lines and spaces on the musical staff encompassed by the two notes, including, importantly, the lines or spaces occupied by the notes themselves. So here's our first example, and I realize that the answer is here, but I'm going to work it out for you. So there's our F and there's our C. So what we're going to do is to start at the bottom and count the space that is occupied by the F as 1. Then the next line is going to be 2, the next space is 3, the next line is 4. And then this space where the C lives, we do count that as well. That one is the fifth item that we've counted. So we therefore have an interval of a fifth. Now here's another example. We're in bass clef. We have a B going down to a G. Now, just because we have a descending interval, that's not going to change our method at all. And in fact, we're still going to count from the bottom up. So we're going to count the line where the G lives as 1, and the space where the A would live is 2, and then the line where the B, in fact, lives as 3. And so since we've counted 3 things, 3 lines and spaces, our interval is a third. Couple of special cases. So here in this example, we've got a D, and we also have a high D up there. You can calculate that relative to the high C. And they're one on top of another. So that means the two notes are meant to be played simultaneously. This is what's called a harmonic interval. But that still doesn't change our method at all. We're still going to count from the bottom note up to the top note. So we'll count the line where the lower D lives as 1, the next space is 2, 3, 4. Then we get into ledger line territory. There would be a note that lives on that single ledger line. Then there's this one. Then there's this one. Then finally, we get to that space above the second ledger line, above the staff, and that gives us a total of 8 lines and spaces. And so our interval is what's called an octave, and we abbreviate that 8 with the VE, sort of superscript there. Now let's go on to the next page for one more special case. Here we have the same note to the same note, so an E to an E. So at first you might think, well, isn't that kind of a 0? Well, no, we still need to use the same method that we've established. So you do count this line where the E lives, and you just stop there because there are no more lines or spaces that are encompassed by those two notes. So it leaves us with an interval of a 1 or a unison. So I'm just going to write the number 1. You also see unison is another option. In the next section, you'll learn that all you really have to do is write the numbers. So that is the introduction to the number component of intervals.